I guess it's already like, sometimes it tells you, sometimes it don't tell you, right? Welcome to Tuesday. No matter how much I comb my hair, as soon as I put the stocking cap on or my winter hat on, it just trashes it, right? I tell you, there are days, and then there are days, and then there are weeks and months and years. So it is like 10 degrees below zero outside right now here in Iowa, and that is a cold day. The wind chill is ranging about 25 below, and that's because the wind's not blowing that hard. If it kicked up in their 10, 15, it could easily be 50 below out there or worse. So that causes a couple issues, starting with the truck. Everything's liquid, so everything wants to freeze in it. The colder it gets, the faster it wants to freeze. So I initially decided I had a 6:30 a.m. job, and it was one little job. Then I was supposed to drive halfway across the state to get a McDonald's. And the idea of driving in this sub-zero, because when you're doing, it's 25 below when you're standing still. Imagine what it is when you're doing 70 and 65, 70 down the interstate, how much that temperature changes. It gets extremely much colder at those higher speeds, which causes plenty of problems. So I called the customer and said, we're going to have to reschedule, and told my employers that, change the plans today. So on a lark, I went out to go start the truck anyway, because it's always good to let them run. And the damn thing, the electrical cord, the extension cord for the block heater, the end of it's melted. And it must have did it yesterday because it fell off. The damn thing came off and fell off onto the ground. So the truck, it turns over, but it's not catching. And the battery wears down on these things. It's a deuce to get started. So I shut it off again, and I went down to the local hardware store and bought a heavy gauge replacement extension cord for that part of the truck. See, part of the problem is, like everything else around here, it's old and beat up. The garage shop, the shop next to the building over here, the office over here, it's not big enough for my truck to fit in. My old truck barely fit in it, but it did. So half of the electrical outlets in it have been repaired by well-meaning people that my boss has employed, and they've never worked right since. And so in order for me to have the damn truck plugged in, I have to run about 200 feet of extension cord from the far right corner of the office, clear around the back of the building, and then around the back of the shop to come out on the other side where I parked the truck. Well, in the previous 2 winters, I'd park up over here where I was close to the source to plug in. The problem is, once again, everything in the truck's liquid. So when you shut off for the night, you're a fool if you don't open those valves up. And because everything will pool at the bottom of the damn truck and turn that into a brick of ice. And so by opening the valves, it'll ooze out. That's part of the problem. So people cried about smell and just, because it's so close to the front door. Well, no, it's not like we have customers that come in and out of here. It's just us. But it's rare to have a customer actually show up at the front door to pay a bill or something. It happens, but not that often anyway. So I run extension cords clear across the back, around the entire back of the property, which the longer those cords go, the more of an issue that can cause on either end. So in this case, I replaced the cord, replugged it back in, and hope after it's been sitting all day and then tomorrow I should be able to just start it tomorrow and be good to go. But I'm not going to try it today. And then I says, okay, so let's go into the office, which is where I'm sitting, and I will do some paperwork. I got here around 7:30, going on 10, and I haven't done jack today except run around trying to fix this, fix that, trying to figure out why. So this computer that I'm sitting at, not that I'm using because I'm using my cell phone, but the computer tower down here, I turned it on and just starts beeping. And I've never heard this kind of beep before. So I took a video picture of it, sent it to my boss. That way they know something's going on. And then Googled what that could mean. And there's not a lot of beeps in your computer. So when you turn your computer on and it doesn't come on, but it just starts beeping, Okay, so it says either the motherboard's got an issue, it could be loose or something. The power source has an issue, it could be loose or something along those lines. Now, a couple last month, the boss lady had a tech guy come in and completely go through all of the three office computers and put more memory in them, cleaned them up, did this, that, and the other thing. So we didn't have any trouble with it, and then suddenly we're having a problem. This creates yet another conundrum. So I called her and she says, well, I could use her desk computer to access to do my stuff. That comes into a couple problems once again. Okay, I access her computer, which I can get into, but her layout is completely different from this site over here, completely. I don't even know where to begin to look to find the data, the company data site where I can then access my portion of it. You can't even figure out where to get into that. And I just don't want to spend an hour and a half on the phone trying to have her walk me through it. And she's not going to come in here till 11 o'clock, noon, and I'm not sitting around here all day, doing this crap. I got some stuff I could do at home. I'm going to get screwed on hours today, no matter what. Plus, I'm going to try to get my taxes done this afternoon. I went to a place yesterday and they quoted $170 to start. And I'm like, no. There's places you can go, especially if you're old and poor, to get them done for near nothing. And that's kind of but you got to go through a bunch of rigmarole to get it done. So that's kind of what I'm trying to do today, if I can get it done. Really sucks because I was expecting another 9-10 hour day today. I got 12 and a half hours in as of yesterday. Yesterday's are always screwballs. So I worked Sunday night into Monday morning. So I went to work around 7:30 Friday evening or Sunday evening, got done about 6 a.m. Yesterday. Then I go home and I get about 4 hours of sleep, and I get up and I take my wife. We run a couple errands and get those things taken. Mostly I take her to the pharmacy to pick up the other half of her prescription that they didn't have, and the $64 it cost us to pay for the prescription. And since we were running around anyway, I just said, let's go we'll stop in the store and get a few things. And it just become one of those, so I'm dragging ass all day yesterday. We went home, and then I'm half dozing in my chair all evening. I wanted to do some videos yesterday. I really did. I was just so damn tired. It's hard to get motivated. And this weather makes things even more of a pain in the ass. It does. The cold weather. And now I'm 58. Everything is 2-3 times harder to do when it's freaking 0 degrees outside. And if something goes south, you're really you can be in a bind in a quick hurry, and it's things we have to be aware of, pay attention to, kind of part of life, I guess. So I'm sitting in here. I've got some jobs left from last week to invoice that I couldn't get done yesterday because I came in Sunday morning as well. It was here for 2 hours, so I was working on paperwork Sunday morning, and the computer was working fine. Right, everything was working fine, and then my wife, she comes up every 2 weeks to clean the office to get a little bit of spending money from the boss lady, and so I was in here for a couple hours, and it worked fine yesterday, and I shut it all down like I usually do, so I don't understand what happened. Nobody's been in here since yesterday, so and then my boss told me something last week that I'm not supposed to tell nobody. He told me because I've been stressing out a lot. You guys have noticed that. Just swears up and down. Nobody's supposed to know. His wife would kill him, etc., etc. Supposedly, he's in talks again with one of our competitors to buy the company. These people, he almost sold the business to them back before COVID broke out and shut everything down and caused a lot of problems. And then he kind of hiffed off around for the last, since then. But I think he's finally reached that point where he just doesn't want to do this stuff no more. He is tired and he wants to sit down. He's tired of the BS. And I can understand. I can relate. He deals with a lot more crap than I do. And my hat's off to him. I get frustrated by dealing with the petty crap I got to deal with some days. And in part because I have a lot of latitude, but I still have to measure that latitude with the fact I don't own the company. So I can't really tell a customer where to go if I fed up with their, their BS. I've got a handful of customers I would gratefully like to let them go because of the amount of BS, the petty BS that they put us through. I've got 3 or 4 of them sitting here, right? That every time I schedule, they find 5 excuses to, we have to reschedule, or they just dance around it. And I get tired of chasing those people down. Or the other ones where they don't want to pay their bills for 6 months and everything gets behind real bad because they don't want to pay their bills. And we don't want to keep doing their service for free, just racking up even bigger bills. So their stuff gets put on hold, which causes the stuff in the boxes to get worse and nastier, which makes my job freaking harder. And then after the fact, well, then they have plumbing problems and issues. And then they cry, well, we had to come out and pull it up. Yeah, after you let it sit for 6 effing months when you're supposed to be done every 3 months or every 2 months. I got a hotel out here in Altoona, for example, that got all, the manager got all pissy because I explained it to her. The inspectors came out 6 months ago, threatened to shut them down. I came out and cleaned it out. And I told the lady, according to the regulations, every 3 months. So we will be back in 3 months. I came back, did it again. She called and cried. She says we shouldn't do it without, she'll let us know when she wants us to do it. And so 3 months from now, I will call her and I will inform her. It says it's your prerogative to be informed. I'm notifying the WRA that you're doing this because I ain't playing with you. I'm not having you come back and cry at me or cry and blame me. They didn't do the job. No, you kept telling us not to do the job. I log that stuff down. I track it. I've learned the hard way to do that sort of crap. So anyway, assuming he is actually going to sell the business, well, he is going to at some point. That puts me into a whole nother funk. I've been talking for 1.5 years about quitting to go look for a better job anyway. Part of the reason I haven't is because they leave me alone. You don't get too many jobs where you're pretty much left alone to do your business. Unless there's a problem, they don't usually talk to me about hardly anything. And it's been that way for a couple of years now. And so that gives you a lot of freedom and latitude. Like sitting here doing a video, I may not be able to do that if I'm working for another person or another outfit. Kind of the way it goes, In the case of working around full circles and things like this, the others of creating my own schedule, writing my own schedule. So if something comes up at the last minute and my wife needs a doctor's appointment, I can just go. I can call a customer, apologize, and reschedule them. I don't have to go through several layers, and I can't just up and do it if I'm working for somebody else. I can do that here. All right, and get away with a lot of, like I said, a lot of freedom in that respect. So that would mean probably punching a clock, driving a truck for our competitor, and going on there. Ashley, our competitor, these people have offered me jobs in the past, kind of circumstance. Well, we're always hiring. Whenever I run into their head guy that runs their grease department, we're always hiring. And why are you still working for Emmett? That kind of stuff. And so I don't doubt that I would have a job with them. My fear, though, is there's a whole huge amount of economic uncertainty coming up in the next year or two. Things can get really bad if the financial situation crashes. And all the indications from all of these freaking economists are all waving their hands and jumping up and down and have been for some time. And it doesn't matter what political boundaries they set, their attitudes don't change about the worries about the pending economy problem. And everything that's going on right now is just making that worse faster. So the problem with any kind of merger, and any of you guys have had these jobs and went through this, you know what it's like. So if you go to work for somebody and things are great, things turn south, last in, first out, last hired, first fired, or laid off when things get south. So, you risk going to, they buy up the stuff and then tomorrow say, well, there's no work for you. We just don't have enough work for you. That's one of the reasons we bought the company, was so we could keep our guys, working. It's the other half of it is the lion's share of the business. I contribute a significant portion of their yearly income for the company, but it's about a quarter of it. So the rest of it's coming from these hood guys. Most of them are total train wrecks, and that's the truth. They wouldn't be able to hold down jobs and haven't held down jobs other places like they have here, in part because my boss's willingness to put up with their crap and to work with them. You can't get that in a lot of places. This is a hard luck outfit for sure. And our competitor, they do roll-offs, big dumpster bins. They do porta potties, which was how they got started, and then they do grease, of course, which is just a different form of liquid waste disposal from the porta potties. But the principle is the same equipment, same drivers, no big issue, right? And then, but what they don't do is exhaust hoods. That's going to any restaurant in their kitchen, they got a big hood over the stove. That's what we're talking here. And exhaust hoods, it's not just that big vent, that thing and the vent and the filters that are in it, but the ductwork behind it and to the fans on the roof or the walls, however they're mounted. All that's supposed to be professionally cleaned X amount of times. Minimum once a year. Some places it's twice a year. Some places it's every 3 months, 2-3 months, because of the sheer amount of grease that gets up the damn vents. It's a safety thing. It just is the way how it works. So to my knowledge, they have never run that sort of business here. I've heard in the past that they have relatives in Illinois that's why they have deep pockets, et cetera, that have had some experience doing some of this stuff. I don't know if they do or they don't, but I do know a couple things about the exhaust hood business. There's a reason why my boss hires the train wrecks that he does, because it's hard to get normal, regular, hardworking people to put up with this. The bizarre hours, literally every day can be a different challenge, and every week can be a different challenge. So sometimes it changes on you in the middle of the week. So you have to be fluid. You have to be willing to accept some changes, like, oh, we couldn't go to that job, or now I had tomorrow off, and now I got to go to this other job, so I don't have tomorrow off. And you do that over and over and again over time. It takes its toll on anybody who wants to work at a place like this. And so keeping good help and retaining good help is really a challenge, even in the grease business. We get paid pretty good money, but they get paid better than I get, but that's another set of problems. The challenges, though, for the hood guys is extreme, and most of them won't last. A real employer won't put up with their bullshit. I'm just saying, it just won't put up with their BS, and they're gone. And then, of course, the new employer that bought all this stuff is now going to have to figure out how to hire new people who will do that stuff and go through all that. And one of our other the other big competitor in town, who also did exhaust hoods and grease, sold their exhaust hood business 2 years ago because they got fed up with that crap. It really is a pain in the butt business to do and maintain, which is why I said my hat's off to my boss for doing it for 40 damn years. So for my end of things, I make $19 an hour, and he told me, well, these guys start at 22, so their entry level is 22, and then with a CDL and experience, I should get better than 22. And then, well, they also have insurance, or they also offer health care. Now, no offense to my boss, and I didn't see no point in pointing this out to him. A lot of small companies, because this outfit here is not much bigger than we are, probably 2 or 3 times bigger than we are. So they're big, but they're not like massive corporate big. They're still an oversized mom and pop. And the downside for that is that they have no practical experience. They don't have existing people that do this. So the handful that we do have, Kevin's probably the only one that's be long-term employable as far as I'm concerned. One of the other 2 younger fellows might surprise me, but so far they ain't impressed me. And Kevin's been doing this stuff as long as I have for these people. So he could teach new people how to do the job to a limited degree, but he can't. He's not a manager material person. He just isn't going to do that sort of stuff. So, they'd have to hire somebody that knows what they're doing and run that crap. And it ain't going to be me. I know how to do it. I don't want to run it. I know how much BS is involved, and there's no way I would sign up to be responsible for these people. I'm sorry. I barely want to. I barely handle being responsible for me. I don't want to be, dealing with them too. I'm just too old to care. It's not worth the BS. I'm not going to get enough payment out of it to justify the aggravations and headaches. So that brings us back to the issue of if this merger does take place, if we have jobs, because we won't sell the business we'll sell the business to somebody. Yeah, it's been a long time, March Hare. I'm not going to deny it. I have been dragging my feet for a couple of years now. I mean, you really have. I've been the last 3 years. I have been hamstrung by this healthcare situation. It's really effed me over, and part of my problem is I'm old. Fear. Any kind of change is not necessarily welcome when you get older, and I fear. I worry. I have a job today. I make my money. I make enough to keep my lights on and my bills paid and my wife taken care of as best as I can. I sacrifice a lot of stuff like a lot of you guys do. I'm not any different from that perspective. But at the same time, I refuse over $5 in raises. That's $500 a month. I should be making more than I am. And the cost of everything just keeps, it just keeps going up no matter what you do, except my wages are not even close to keeping up with that. And it's been causing problems for a while now. But, the downside is, or the upside is for me positive. I'm 3 blocks. I literally live 3 blocks down the street. I can walk to and from work. If my van were to break down, my employer would help me get my van fixed. They would. A new employer is not going to do that. If my van breaks down, I can walk to and from the shop. This new employer is about 4 miles northeast of here, a little too far for me to walk on a regular basis, and my van breaks. And then I have to worry about what am I going to do then, No, that's just it, and when it comes to switching jobs, this is when if this thing happens and I talk to the new people, and I've talked to them in the past, part of the reason why this negotiation has been restarted is because I've mentioned to their head grease guide several times over the past 6 months, hammering home that my boss wants to sell. My boss is tired. My boss wants to retire. His wife hates coming here. They all just want to. They've been in business since for 40 years. They're ready, and they don't have any family that's taken over. That's been established. It ain't going to happen, etc. So the question is do we wait till Emmett dies and then they sell it, or they negotiate something? Well, it would be nice to know in advance that they're doing this because, what if it ain't going to pan out? I'd like to have my resume ready and I got to have an updated copy of my driver's license from the DOT, et cetera, because unlike, like a lot of you, I can't afford to sit down for 2 months or 2 weeks. A suspension of my pay for 2 weeks would be really, really bad for me and my wife. We would be in a failure mode. We would have things being delinquent because we wouldn't be able to pay things on a timely manner. Just things like this. I should have had a 50-hour week last week, but between the truck issues and the snow, I ended up with 37. And I've got a stack. I probably got 30 hours worth of scheduled jobs that need to be rescheduled now because of the weather in the truck. Every time the truck has a problem, I'm screwed. The weather shuts me down. I'm kind of screwed. So I got to make up for it when I can. So it's like this afternoon. I mean, the truck's plugged in right now. It's still like 7, 8 below. So I'm not even going to fiddle with the truck. I'm going to screw around here till 11 or noon, and then I'm going to see about going to get my taxes and stuff done. I'll probably bail out of here at 11 because if I sit around here, my boss's wife wants to find things for me to do, and I'm fine with that. I mean, I can use the hours a little bit too, but I part of me is I don't like business. I don't like this. I have other things I could be doing at home, or I could just be dozing in my chair at home because sometimes that's just preferable than everything else, Meanwhile, so if he sells, when he sells, it's inevitable. and the new guys hire us and then keep me on, then my entire position changes. At this point, I'm no longer in an office. I know their outfit. They don't need office help. I'm not going to be in the office doing this. I'm not going to be doing scheduling. I'm not going to be dealing with customers, any of this stuff. All I'm going to do is jump in a truck, go do a job, go home. And part of that's appealing. There's a lot of appealing that I cringe every time I pick up my phone. If I shut it off on my so-called weekend, and because otherwise, if every time it makes a noise, my wife jumps up and down. Because she never, she doesn't get a lot of stuff on her phone because she doesn't do anything with it, which is rare for, in this modern age. It's the truth. But so she doesn't understand all the little pages and notices and other gizmo crap that our phones are always bleeping for. And I can't get her to understand it. And I gave up trying. So I just shut it off. So when I turn it back on, I'm like, what the hell am I, what's waiting for me when I turn it on? I've got it scheduled already for the day. If my schedule just been, thrown to the wind, and that has its challenges. So the rest of this week, the weather's supposed to be a little warmer than today. It's supposed to be the worst day for cold for a while. Then it's supposed to heat up into the 40s and 50s by next week. So I will spend the next 3 or 4 days running my balls off, trying to catch up as much as get my what's already on the schedule done. In addition to that, try to catch up yet some more stuff, in addition to the stuff that's not getting done, from this week, from the weather. This isn't nothing new. This sort of crap happens every winter. I mean, it just kind of goes with it. And truck problems and weather just back to back just adds to the issues. So the new competitor offers insurance, but they don't pay for it. See, that's something that they offer insurance. Sure, a lot of companies can offer you insurance. Here's your options, but you're paying 100% of those options out of your check. We'll just take it out of your check for you every month. Well, fine, okay, but there's always the caveats, right? I have to go to the county hospital because of the way my current insurance setup is worked out. So I would have to have Medica or Blue Cross Blue Shield. And I can't afford Blue Cross Blue Shield under any circumstances. And if I did, I sure as hell wouldn't go to the county hospital with it. Nothing against the county hospital. I'm just saying is I would have, better insurance means better health, access to better places. Whether or not they're actually better, that's a case by case thing. So I would have to deal with Medica either out of pocket anyway, and I'll have to increase it because obviously my wages would go up, and your portion that you have to pay goes up based on your wages, right? And that's assuming we have it, because there's a whole lot of doubt right now as to what's going to be available. And with the current situation in Washington, where they've tried to shut shit down on a regular basis, the Community Cares charity that picks up the stuff that pays my deductible on my insurance through the county hospital is based off of Medicare. So if they cut Medicare, this program could get cut. Lots and lots of poor people like me get effed. No health care again. 58 and then no health care unless it's a ER emergency sort of thing, and I'm willing to sell my house to pay for it. That kind of crap. So the odds are 50-50. I'm not going to have health care. By the end of this year, they change owners. Business changes owners, and I can't afford their health care. And I need the same crap I got going out here that I'm likely just to be out of it. Then so we get an extra pay raise, potentially as much as $3 to $5. I make 19, so they would have to give me $3 raise right out the door just to get to their bare 22. And like I said, I have a CDL and I have 9 years experience driving this truck and do what I do. So that's worth a few dollars by itself. So I should by rights get a $5 to $7 raise, assuming this all pans out the way it didn't pan out before. And if the economy takes a shit dive in the next few months, I don't know how fast this negotiation is in play. Sounded like he was waiting on. He said something about them waiting on the other guy's lawyers. There are other guy's dad or something's the lawyer that's doing the lawyering, and it could be 2 weeks to a month before blah blah blah. So, and that was a week ago when he told me. This of course puts me in another funk because I mean, I just want to sit down. You know, I've been over backwards for Emmett and for the company and for myself on a daily damn basis, on a regular basis. And then part of me just wants to say, well, what's the point? I mean, it's all this crap getting behind. Well, if you're selling the business in another month, but then all this doesn't really matter, then does it? Because they've got 7 or 8 drivers and a dozen damn trucks. You know, they're going to get it all caught up, lickety split. So why am I out here killing myself other than just to get a decent paycheck every week? You know, the upsides to a merger would be a payroll, you know, get a pay increase for sure. Bigger trucks. They drive trucks the capacity much bigger than mine, which would mean some of these grueling all-night jobs that I've been doing would be done faster. The other part of that would be is I would more likely have a shift. I would actually be able to say, okay, I'm going to go to work every day at a certain time and expect to get off around the same time every day. The downside is that means less overtime, which is also a positive thing because it means less overtime, less working my ass off, and I'm making more money, so I'm not losing out as much that way. Being able to have that scheduled shift, you know, it's been a long time since I've had anything like that. And they also would, you know, get a paid vacation every year, which you don't do here. I haven't had a paid vacation over 30 years. That's not an exaggeration. 2002 would have been my last, damn near 30 years. 2002 would have been my last paid. Last year I had a paid week's vacation. And because they have more trucks, we have one truck. So every time it breaks down, I'm broke down. So they have more trucks to work with than we do. They also have more drivers than we do. So when things go south, more people to pick up the slack. You know, things need to get changed at the last minute. They don't go forever without getting addressed. Then we go back to that full circle with the office stuff. There's some components of office that I don't care for. One of them is chasing customers down who don't want to, delinquent customers. People who don't want to pay their bills. Going on there, Cybersmith. Me bitching, killing a little bit of time. There's customers that do not want to pay their bills. They want to take forever to pay their bill. And in part, because they don't do that, once again, jobs get stretched further out when it should be done more frequently than they are, which makes my job harder, et cetera. But it's also dealing with them, trying to get them to commit to it, et cetera, and or chasing down saying, look, man, you owe us money. Until you get us that money, we can't do anything. I mean, I don't like bill collecting. I never did. So those are parts of this business I'm not fond of and wouldn't miss at all. And so there's some peace of mind that would come with a different outfit running the show. A, I would have more support and be supported more. I get a lot of support from my boss, don't get me wrong, but you know, it's just us. I don't have any support. So if I'm sick, nobody can do my job. Nobody can fill in and make sure my customers get taken care of. I have to wait till I feel better, then I have twice as much work to do. You know, it's like the weather. So the weather's more or less shut me down yet again. The severe cold and then the damn electric cord on the truck melting itself. So hopefully I've got a new cord that's plugged in. Hopefully, you know, later this afternoon I can fire that truck up, or tomorrow it'll start. I'm not going to fiddle with it unless I have to. It's just like the paperwork and crap. I mean, I would have loved to have I'd have all my scheduling done for next week and my invoicing done. So that's not going to happen. So it means tomorrow I'll end up with a long double ass day because I'll go do my morning jobs, come in here and work on paperwork, and then go out in the afternoon and get at least the one that's on the schedule, possibly a second one. Because there, and part of my issue too goes when this, you know, don't tell crap. I can't tell any of the other coworkers that this may happen because that would be bad if they all decided to quit. Most of them would be, you know, it would just drive Emmett and Janice crazy because they, you know, nobody has any answers, neither do they tell anything more finalized. That, you know, I expect them to say something, but they keep dancing around it. And I'm not so 100% sure that my boss is fully on board with what he thinks is going on, because his wife sure don't have any inclinations of the way she's kind of designed herself for the future kind of crap. If she knew she was going to be out from under all this stuff in a short period of time, she'd have a different attitude. I think my feelings are that she's not quite confident in any of this BS, if it's even going to happen, which is why she doesn't want anybody to know about it, right, in advance, because she doesn't want any BS. And I get it. I do. So once again, it's hard for me to sit here and get really overly motivated, because all I can think of is, change, change, change. And it scares the hell out of me. All I want, and this is what I would tell any potential future employee. Look, man, all I want is a job I can retire from. I don't want to go looking for another job. I don't want to worry about having to go look for another job. I've got 10 years at most left in this work industry doing what I do, any kind of physical stuff. I'm lucky if I can get through the next 10 years. But I've got about 10 years. All I want is a job that I can work until I'm dead, or until I'm retired, or whatever happens between now and then that says we can or can't retire. I mean, how hard is that? I mean, I guarantee you, I would show up every day, do my job, do it to the best of my ability, be responsible for the company equipment and the customers, like I have been for a decade, or damn close to a decade, working for these people, and just go home. And I have to deal with all this bullshit and and drama and other crap that runs in hand to hand with some of this. And part of it is my me too. So if I lose my health care because of this, and I can't afford their health care, I'll have to figure it out. Push comes to shove, once that door's open for the, moving around shit, well, we just start applying at other locations and stuff. The sewer plant where we unload the crap, they'll be hiring new drivers this year. Maybe. I don't know. I shouldn't say that, because like I said, they're a government outfit, local government, but all this stuff is affected from the Fed, federal screwing the Fed. They're screwing with the Fed stuff that will carry over to the state stuff in many ways, in many unforeseen ways, right? I don't know how many federal funded budget things that have been applied to the sewer plant in our neck of the woods, but I bet there were a few, right? Just saying. So it's like doing the videos on YouTube. I've got three more. I got one more BattleTech video, and I got three more D&D videos that are done, sitting in the thing, ready to be used. I kind of want to. I've been playing around with we all know about the thieves guilds and stuff. That's quite common trope or meme or whatever. We don't talk a lot about the other guilds. For example, fighters. Probably more common than a thieves guild is going to be a fighters guild, or a warrior hall, or dojo. I like using term dojo, but basically and a place for the fighters to hone their skills, learn new skills, to rest on occasion, get assistance and support. It's the same thing that happens in a really good thieves guild can happen in a warriors guild, or a fighters guild, or a fight in a dojo, or a warriors hall, or whatever. So the warriors hall, because you're members, you have access to cheaper metalwork, access to armorers and metalsmiths who will do work for quality work for the guild, because they get a volume deal out of it. They also may get you access to rare elements and specialists and things like this, not unlike a thieves guild. Now, a lot of people equate that a warriors hall, that's like a hiring hall for mercenaries and stuff. It could be. That could be a component of it. If it's a large enough organization, it could very well be. I'm just thinking that there's a lot of untapped potential for that sort of environment as a add-on for the player characters and their backgrounds, like their fighters. Now, we look at the monks. The monk tradition has always been the monastery or religious order. Well, it's a similar thing when it comes to your clerics. So your clerics have their own version of the Thieves Guild or the warrior, the Fighters Guild or the Warrior Hall or whatever, in the aspect that they have the faith in the church. And often the church has facilities that they may have a quote monastery out in the sticks somewhere where they train special they train their warrior priests and to be even better at what they do, and so on and so forth. And so the same scenario. So your priests can get support by being members of their faith, but then going to the churches and things like that, and the temples and stuff that's affiliated with them. We look at the idea from the spellcasters. Things get a little more dodgier, but not too terribly different. So if you look at the wizards specifically, because sorcerers are innate spellcasters, and druids are nature, and that's still a doable thing. It's just going to look very radically different than any of the other classes might show in my mind. So we look at the wizards would have cables or cabals or loose brotherhoods and organizations. Not so much that they in some massive big cities they could very well have an academies. You could have a training academies to go learn to be a wizard, and for high advanced wizards to get together and collaborate on even more powerful things. Because a lot of times that's what it has to what they have to do is it takes more than one wizard collaborating on a project to get something very fantastical created or achieved. And to do that, you need to have you have to have a network. You have to have a Rolodex full of people to call. Who are you going to scry? That kind of stuff. But the point is, the idea being is that these other class would have organizations, and often do, similar to the Thieves Guild, that just do things in a different way. I mean, obviously, the big part of the Thieves Guild is making money on the sly and not paying taxes on it, kind of stuff. Well, a similar scenario with you look at wizards and things like this. As a group, somebody comes to the so-and-so sage and they need this, that. The other thing is, well, look, I don't do any of that stuff, but hey, I know this lady over here in the next town. Here, I'll write you a note, drop this note at there, when you get there, and maybe she'll see you, etc., kind of stuff. Some ideas anyway. Well, okay, I've ran on for quite a while, so let's just go ahead and call this one a day. Thank you guys for listening in. Appreciate it. Now I figure out how to shut this damn thing off. Never, ever should be. How do we turn this off? No, we don't want to do that. Oh, I just swear my job gets there. Okay.